The way I got involved in missions was through the Board of Foreign Missions, who asked me if I would visit Cyprus. I think that's probably the way it began. And I wasn't available at that time. So I couldn't respond to that. But I was director of Christian education for the denomination at that point. And I finished that work, and how to get out of it, Jay Adams suggested the way to get out of a denominational job was to go overseas. So I offered myself to the Irish Reformed Presbyterian Church and said, could you use me for a year? And they invited me to come over. So I spent that year basically working under their committee on evangelism for their synod, and traveled all around visiting churches, having seminars, and teaching them how to do personal evangelism. But it was while we were there that the Board of Foreign Missions said, would we make a trip down to Cyprus to encourage the workers in Cyprus? And that was in 1971. No, it was spring of 1972. So I became excited about going to Cyprus because my dad had been in Cyprus, and I'd heard about Cyprus since I was a child. And that got us down to Cyprus. Now, I'd been working side by side with a colleague on evangelism in Ireland, a fellow by the name of Ted Donnelly. And he, of course, had majored in the classics, so he knew Greek. And so when I suggested we were going to Cyprus, the Irish Board of Foreign Missions sent him along as a goodwill gesture. So the team of us went down there. And when we got down there, we had a wonderful time. But we also saw a great need. And the need was so great at that point that I sent Floy and the boys home, and Ted and I stayed an extra week to see if we could put together something for our Board of Foreign Missions, to give them a report. And the upshot of that was that the Board of Foreign Missions asked Ted and me if we would go and implement what we had recommended. Not an unusual thing. So that got me to Cyprus and ministering there. The Board of Foreign Missions had been trying to figure out what to do with the work in Cyprus, and I have, to some extent, a gift of administration, so they had me to function as director for the mission, and which meant coordinating, and so we went to work on that, and we had full intention of training Cypriot men. I've always focused on men, and we had it set up, and we had a team of workers out there so that we could staff a seminary course with every position except a Hebrew scholar, and we figured we could work something out. And we had about 3 or 4 men that were ready to take that training and became involved in it. But in 1974, the Turks invaded the island as a result of a Greek-sponsored coup against the president, Makarios. And that scattered everybody. In fact, I was in Lausanne, Switzerland at the Congress on World Evangelism in '74 when that actually happened. I was on the last flight out of Nicosia and no plane has ever flown out of the Nicosia airport since. Coup took place 20 minutes after we left the island. And of course, that was Greek against Greek. But when they put in a new president who had been a known Turk killer from the past, the Turks said, get him out of there. And the Greeks said no. So the Turks said, then we will. And the Turks invaded, and the Greeks, of course, thought America would stop them, as it had done on 3 previous occasions. And but this was right at the heart of Watergate, and Nixon was not doing anything with international relations. And Kissinger had always believed in a federated Cyprus, so America didn't do anything, which in a sense was very significant because this meant that the Greeks became incensed against Americans. And I could go into a lot of detail on that, but that's what precipitated ultimately our turning the work over in Cyprus to the local leadership, which is something that the Foreign Mission Board had been trying to do for 35 years. So the war actually precipitated something which we felt was good. And we turned the schools over to local leadership, and eventually the properties were all turned over to Cypriot people. You know, I've thought about that, but I don't know that it had that kind of an impact. When I went over, I remember talking to the local team of missionaries we had there, and I said, look, I know about ministry. I don't need to be instructed about how to minister. I know that. But what I don't know are Cyprus men. So I began to concentrate on getting acquainted with Cyprus men, what bothered them, what they aspired to, and so forth and so on. And guys, of course, Cypriot men are talkers, and they would open right up and tell me. And so I began to find out, after interviewing a number of these men, that there were certain things that were on their hearts. I learned that. That then gave me the ability to track in when I met a new person, because I already had an idea that he had a burden for one of these and maybe all of these things. So I could track in on that. So I learned that, but I don't think I certainly didn't learn how to minister to people there. What I did learn was the importance of getting to know the people. I remember one man, because Cypriots were multilingual oftentimes. So he said to me, he was down in the passport office, and we used to go down there and talk with them about what Cyprus men wanted. And he said, why are you working so hard to learn Greek? We all know English. I said, yeah, but if you really want to bear your heart on something, what language do you use? He said, Greek. I said, Jesus wants your heart. He said, okay, understand. Well, I think that one of the things that this has done, because we've been in many countries since, it precipitates the whole concept of a global village and the whole international perspective. Shows that cultures are different, but people are the same. And we think now, and we pray around the globe, just like it's our neighborhood.